The 2004 Cadillac CT5-V was an absolute game changer for American performance luxury cars. With a 6-speed manual, 8 cylinders, and rear-wheel drive, it blasted the V brand onto the world stage. Essentially a Corvette disguised as Cadillac's new angsty entry-level sedan, it was ultimately an all-out assault on the German sports sedans. But 3 successive generations later, and the CTS is gone, replaced by the CT5. So can the CT5-V Blackwing carry on that badge? Well, if any car can, it's this. A pristine 2021 CT5-V Blackwing with a 6.2-liter supercharged V8 and a 6-speed manual, just like the car that started it all. When the CTS-V was first made, it was less of a performance car and more of a car that they stuffed performance into. The only option was a 6-speed manual because, thankfully, at the time, GM didn't have any decent automatic transmissions to stuff behind their 400 horsepower LS6. A few years later, the second generation CTS-V fixed most of its flaws, along with adding horsepower on top, and then sneaking in a pretty phenomenal 6-speed automatic transmission that really helped garner its appeal to the masses. The third and final generation upped power again, but was only offered with a notoriously shaky 8-speed automatic transmission that really left people wondering, will we ever see a manual V8 supercharged sedan from General Motors ever again? And this car laid all of those doubts to rest. The Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing is the culmination of nearly 2 decades of benchmarking Munich's finest and perhaps the ultimate representation of everything that the enthusiast artist engineers at General Motors have embodied for generations. And that is world-class performance for the upper middle class budget. The C8 Z06 with its naturally aspirated dual overhead cam engine might be the magnum opus for the math savants V8, but this is GM's true hero car and the perfect tribute to the internal combustion engine. And if the manual transmission is going to die, this is the casket it should be laid to rest in. And if 3 pedals aren't your thing, you can still have this car with a lightning fast 10-speed automatic transmission. And it'll probably get you wherever you're going quicker. But this is way cooler. So let's go over what you get with the 3-pedal special. Well, all cars come with the very best infotainment that Cadillac has to offer with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, along with a whole host of cameras to help keep you off the curbs. But unlike the Auto car, this car cannot park itself. Remote start is also gone. You can't have the car starting itself when there's nobody inside to press the pedal on the left. Some driver aids, admittedly, aren't there either. When the computers can't do all the shifting for you, features like adaptive cruise control cannot bring you to a dead stop without, stalling. But where you lose in some features, you gain the most connective driving experience you can have while having enough power to put you through the courthouse, both literally and physically. Even though this car does its best to please the government with cylinder deactivation and a tall 6th gear, it still gets slapped with a gas guzzler tax because it can only muster 13 miles per gallon city and 21 highway. I've seen as much as 24, but it is really hard to keep your foot out of it. The fuel mileage figure is far more impressive when you consider that 20 years ago, the CTS-V did about the same with 250 less horses to feed. To claw back luxury, features like active rev matching and flat shifting will help you keep your foot to the floor during watt shifting, but I don't know what kind of psychopath could do that on the street. I'll give you a hint of how traction goes. First gear, none. Second gear, a little more, still very little. Third gear, you start to get something going. 0 to 60 will come in just 3.6 seconds. But that's not the whole story. First gear is a fight for traction, and flat out, pun intended, it loses. Then the illegal starts at the top of second gear, which is where you can flat shift into third at about 100 miles per hour. With enough real estate, 200 miles per hour is a reality and then some. Sounds exhilarating, huh? Because it is. Having that manual, having that direct connection between the engine and the wheels no slip, just go, leads to unmatched throttle response. And with a supercharged V8, there's never a point in this car's rev range where it's not making an absolute monumental amount of power. Just pick a gear, and this car is essentially an automatic, with the exception of having to start from a stop. But the suede shifter will really make you want to row every single gear. Oh my fucking God. Yeah, it does 90 something in second gear. I didn't do that, but it will, I guess, I think. The suede on the shifter is nice, and the suede on the steering wheel is also a fabulous touch. But there isn't a ton of suede in this car. They've really reserved it for the parts of the car that you're going to contact with your hands the most, and that's really respectable. The steering wheel is also heated and has a lot of controls. The seats are pure leather, and they are 18-way adjustable, I believe. A lot of the adjustments will show you inside of the head unit when you're making them. Oh, it's even massaging, isn't it? The rear seats are also leather, and there's quite a bit of legroom back here and a ton of headroom. I'm not a specifically tall or big guy, but there's a lot of space back here, I'd say. There's a standard 12-volt accessory socket along with a USB Type-C, and then your pretty standard cup holders. The rear seats do fold flat, so if you need to put an extra long piece of material or some skis in here, you can. And a long piece of material is about the only thing that would cause you to fold those seats flat, because this trunk is a more than ample amount of space. You have your standard roadside stuff there, along with plenty of room for luggage. So on the steering wheel, you have some switches. You have your standard audio and dash layout controls over here. You have your cruise control switches over here. And then you have a knob down here for your performance traction, wet, dry, sport, and race. And then you have your V mode button, which pretty much just sets the car to your predefined settings. So here I've got everything set to the max because freedom has never sounded so good. And just like the noise this car makes, the body makes a statement to separate itself from its base V brethren. Wide body fenders adorn the front end to house these massive 275mm front tires, and the rear is the same, although the tires have grown substantially to 305mm. Stopping these massive tires and quite stunning wheels are carbon ceramic brakes, a first for Cadillac, along with 6-piston front calipers and 4-piston calipers in the rear, which is actually pretty standard for top-of-the-line V models. And stopping might be your heart. With its $114,000 asking price, it is still surprisingly cheaper than most manual Blackwings in the country, and far cheaper than either an M5 or AMG GT63. And for that, it does what the V brand set out to do 20 years ago, which is beat up on the Germans for a fraction of the price. If you're still watching at this point, I suggest you get subscribed for future tread depth content. I'd like to thank Dimmitt Automotive Group for providing me with this exquisite vehicle today. It is for sale if you would like to purchase it. There's a link in the video description below. And like always, we'll see you next time.